So the Adventures of Elliot prologue demo is out, and I finally finished it up, and let me tell you, the moment it finished, I immediately wanted more, and that's pretty rare, to be honest with you. So waiting for release now is genuinely going to be difficult because this hook is already in me 100%. So if you haven't had a chance to play this yet or just want to hear some of my takes, I'm glad to have you here. So before we get to my take on this demo so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Are you going to get this game? Are you not going to play the demo? You're going to go in blind, or you just want to hear some of my thoughts? I would love to have a discussion with you guys and just chat about this game because I'm really excited. So let's talk about my take on the game so far. So the biggest surprise for me is the vibe. This has a warm and adventurous tone that immediately calls back to something like A Link to the Past. I mean, not just visually, but in terms of feel as well, which is really important to me in order to connect to a game. So it just feels really familiar in a way that's just hard to fake. I mean, that Super Nintendo era sense of wonder is just really present throughout, whether you're just wandering around or just standing still in the town. It just feels like that 16-bit vibe, and that's just really hitting well with me. Now, aside from that, let's talk about the story. I'm not going to give you a lot because the demo doesn't really give you a lot, but the game revolves around Elliot, who's an adventurer who was found as a baby and then raised in an orphanage, and that's some sort of narrative thread that I'm really interested to learning a little bit more about. But now that he's older, obviously he works to support the children in that orphanage, and the story really kicks off when the king asks him to explore some ancient ruins, and during that expedition he discovers a mysterious key and a book, both of which hint at something far bigger: time travel. Chrono Trigger influence, maybe? I don't know. I'm interested to know more. Now, the demo does give you a little bit more than that for story, but I'll leave it to you to find out more. But overall, it's really interesting, and it definitely is enough to create really a good sense of intrigue without over-explaining anything. Now, this being an HD 2D game, of course, that is so beautiful. Once you boot it up, it just feels like I'm right at home because I just love this HD 2D aesthetic, and it just continues to get better and better with every release. So shout out to Square for just really polishing the visuals on this game. It's such a treat to look at. The environments feel really welcoming, and the character movement has a lot more energy and personality than expected. And I really think that becomes very apparent because there's a lot more movement and motion to at least Elliot, because this is an action RPG or action JRPG. There's a lot more movements here than you would have with your typical standard turn-based thing like Octopath Traveler or whatever. But I really just love the expressiveness and just the, again, the alive feeling. And honestly, I would almost say that there's a strong Studio Ghibli-like vibe in the presentation, especially through the voice work. It just feels welcoming and soft and inviting and almost really slightly whimsical too. And despite being what you might think as experimental for Square Enix nowadays in terms of having an action RPG game with HD 2D design, the execution here feels so well polished, and it feels like the devs from, you know, the early 90s made a game for PlayStation 5, and it's just really such a home run so far. And the emotional tone of the world is really simple, but it works really well, cozy, adventurous, and curious. And pacing-wise, the prologue does a really great job at showing you what the why of this game is. It doesn't rush, but it also doesn't drag. It introduces characters, establishes motivations, and just does enough to create emotional investment early on, which is what really speaks to me and probably the biggest reason I'm so keen for more. And the combat, in my opinion, is where this game really shines. And I know the comparisons to like A Link to the Past are inevitable, but that DNA is just so baked into this game. It's not a Nintendo game, but it's there, man. You can't deny it. And I love that so much, and this is really hitting the spot for me, and I can see the hours melting away just exploring and battling my way through the game. And this is the best thing too, because if you're not a fan of turn-based games or anything like that, this might be deemed as more accessible, especially on easier settings, but still engaging enough to stay interesting. And what stands out the most is the variety in weapons, and you get a fair few of them within the first few hours. Each tool has its own feel and purpose, and experimenting with them feels really fun, but it's up to you whether or not you want to even use them as well. The sword and boomerang combo in particular feels great, while obviously some ranged options like arrows give you some more flexibility depending on the situation. And there's also bombs too, which, again, classic Zelda stuff. Nothing really felt repetitive in that demo window, which lasted me about 2.5 hours. Instead, it feels more like a system that opens up and encourages you to find your own rhythm throughout your playtime. So again, if you want to make some comparisons, it really just does echo what was happening in the early 90s in terms of how this gameplay is paced for you. Now, exploration is one of the strongest aspects of this game, in my opinion. The world is filled with so many small detours, hidden caves, optional paths, and little rewards that make curiosity feel worthwhile. Stepping off the main path is almost always worth it, and the game makes sure you know that. There's also these trial-like areas that hint at some more structured challenges. I mean, I only saw one of them, but it really gives me the Breath of the Wild style, Tears of the Kingdom style, optional discovery kind of thing. I mean, if you played those games, you remember the little temples or the trials that you would have to go to, and just has that vibe. And the environments feel so cozy with this HD 2D aesthetic. Towns in particular feel alive, even with like the only two that you can visit. The scale is interesting as well. It's not massive. It feels really tight and focused. Again, more like a Link to the Past structure. It feels very comfort RPG rather than open world exhaustion, which is one reason why I think the hours are just going to melt away for me. So far, I think it really sits at a great balance between like linear exploration and kind of open world, go off the beaten path exploration thing. I mean, you could play it linearly, but I think you're really going to be missing out on finding all those secrets. I definitely feel it's going to be worthwhile your time to just go run around and maybe don't go straight to your destination. It's going to be worth it, trust me. So Elliot himself is really likable straight away. He's confident, he's kind of whimsical and very easy to follow as your main character. The one thing I will say, which is really important to note, is that the writing is really sincere. It avoids some of the modern sarcasm or cringe that we see a lot of these days and really just fully commits to that fantasy tone, and it works so well. And I can't not comment on the music. It's very, very strong, even in the prologue that I've experienced. And there are definitely moments that feel reminiscent of games like Chrono Cross and Xenoblade Chronicles, which is very high praise in terms of music for me. So even without a fully developed soundtrack experience yet, I can really hear what this game is going to sound like and feel like. Definitely a game with a lot of heart. So at this stage, I don't have any concerns about this game. I mean, the only potential risk would be repetition if somebody plays it very linearly without engaging with any exploration. But the game clearly pushes you into wandering and rewarding your curiosity in doing so. So that risk feels minimal, really. And if I was to try to think of anything of concern, the biggest unknown is like long-term depth with this game. But the foundation is so strong enough that it feels really promising rather than not knowing what we're going to be getting into. So my overall thoughts are this game feels super, super special so far. And I think this is going to be curing my video game burnout. Honestly, after coming from Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, which took me like 3 weeks to get 12 hours of this game, I've put 3 hours into this demo last night. So it really shows you how much I'm enjoying something. And I think that you guys will really enjoy this one too. So right now it really feels like a comfort game in the making. The story setup is really effective, the gameplay loop is really satisfying, and the world encourages and rewards exploration. So if this full game continues on this trajectory, it has the potential to be something genuinely stand out, not just for JRPG fans, but for anyone who wants a straightforward and heartfelt adventure. So at this point, I'm not just interested in the release, I'm actively looking forward to it in a way that's really, really hard to ignore. And I'm going to be so bold as to make the claim that this is going to be my JRPG of the year. You just wait. Unless Trails in the Sky second chapter somehow completely blows me away, which it very well may. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the game. Go check out the demo. This isn't a sponsored thing. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out the game. I'm interested to know your thoughts, and let's just chat in the comments. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you in another video next week. Bye-bye.